So good morning, everyone. In last lecture, we saw the different issues regarding the impending or the developing the hydroelectric power plant. That is difficulty in the location or the inaccessible location, land acquisition problem, resettlement and rehabilitation issues, law and order issues or the situations, geological surprises, interstate disputes. So all those factors all those are the issues which we came across whenever we develop or construct any particular hydroelectric power plant. The next one is the limitation of the hydroelectric power plants or the projects. The first limitation and the most important is the away from the load center. Now, what is meant by away from the load center? Generally, the hydroelectric power plant will be constructed in the hilly areas. Okay, so in hilly areas, that will be the suitable site to construct the hydroelectric power plants. When we install this power plant near to the hilly area, it will mostly away from the large or mega cities. Okay, so where maximum consumer will be concentrated on these cities, and those cities are far away from the hydroelectric project or the power plants. So in that case, we have to transfer or transmit that electrical power from this hydroelectric power plant to the cities or to the consumer. So that distance between those two power plant and the consumer or the generator and the consumer, it will create some problem or some energy will be lost during the transmission. That is the first limitation. Next, environmental, ecological, and resettlement problems. Okay, we already know the because of when we construct any particular hydroelectric power plant, it requires huge land mass. Okay, so in that case, we have to displace or dislocation, resettle the all villages which are came across those that particular project. So that is a social problem. Another is the environmental effects. Definitely, because of the construction of the hydroelectric power plant, whatever the biodiversity available in that particular situation or that in that particular area, it will just diminish or the negative impact will be there on the biodiversity. So that is the environmental problem. Next is the difficulty in investigation or the implementation due to the remoteness of the area. As we know, the hydroelectric power plants are generally situated far away from the cities. It is generally in the hilly area, and sometimes it is very uh, hard to access that particular location. So, because of the remoteness of the area of the location, it is very difficult to investigate or implement or the construction of that particular hydroelectric power plant. Then, long installation periods, or we can say the days we required uh, for the construction of the hydroelectric power plant. We required very uh, uh, long period, nearly 5 to 10 years. Okay, so it will very have a long installation or the construction period. Then lack of availability of long-term finances. As we know, hydroelectric power plant, the capital cost is very high. Okay, so in that case, there may be a lack of availability of long-term finances will be there, and because of that, again, the installation period or the construction period will again going to be increases. Geological surprises resulting in time and cost over the runs. Okay, so we actually doesn't know what will be there in that particular site, hydroelectric power plant site. So sometimes some geological problems will arise, which will again cause a more cost to construction as well as the more time for the construction. Hydro projects suffer from the production risk since the project is plan based on the historical data, which may be not occurred in the future. So as we know that whenever we select any particular site or whenever we confirm that we are going to construct the hydroelectric power plant at that particular location, we considering some historical data like historical data related to the earthquake, historical data related to the monsoon or the availability of water throughout the year. We are use those data, and based upon that data we are going to decide that we are going to construct any particular hydroelectric power plant or the dam at that particular site. So sometimes there will be a risk. So because in the future, we don't know what will happen in the future. It may be a scarcity of the water will be there, or there may be some earthquakes will be there, which will damage the construction of the dam, etc. So because of that, it will be very, we have a risk whenever we going to construct that hydroelectric power plant, and it is also going to be take very large time or very high more time to construct, nearly in 5 to 10 years. So that is the limitations of the hydroelectric power plant. The geotechnical issues in the water resource project. So the first one is the variation in lithology and rock mass classification. Means, as we know, the land will be made up of different layers of the rock, right? So the variation in the lithology means what? Variation in the construction, or we can say the composition of the rocks, it will going to be the issue. That is a geotechnical issue. Variation in projection. Okay, it is generally the hydroelectric power plant has been installed on the in hilly areas, so it will cause the there will be a variation in the levels. So in that case, we have to first uh, uh, prepare the particular land, and then we are going to start the construction. Third one is the tectonic stresses. As we know, the earthquake or the tectonic stresses, we have to consider that factor also. Heavy and sudden gush of water. Okay, sometimes what will happen in hilly areas, there will be a cloud burst. And because of that, what will happen? In the small time period, the more water or the sudden or the heavy water flow will be came in the dam or the reservoir. So it will cause again some stress uh, uh, in some stress or the sudden gush of water in the dam. Then geothermic problems, the water which is present inside the dam that we are going to store, that water sometimes what will happen, it will uh, drip into the land, and because of that what will happen, it will sometimes reaches to the some geothermic thermic site, and because of that steam will be generated. That high pressure steam inside the land causes the earthquake. So the Koina Dam is one of the example of this particular issue. Many times, because of the water which is dripping inside the land, it will reaches to the because of the heat available inside the land, that will convert it into the high pressure steam, and because of that, some earthquake we will observe near to the particular site. That presence of poisonous gases, sometimes poisonous gases will be present in that particular region, that will again causes some issues. Then the shear zones or the massive rock faults, etc. So these are the geotechnical issues. So whenever we going to select any particular site for the hydroelectric power plant, we have to consider all those factors first of all. Okay, the first step is to carry out the geotechnical or the geological survey, and then we are going to decide whether we are going to mount or construct the dam, what will be the capacity of the dam, etc. Because all those are based upon the geology of that particular site. Now you will see these are the some major dams in India up to the 2009. You can see first that is the Nagarjun Dam, then the Rehan Dam, Bakra Dam, Koina Dam, Pong Dam, then the Karjan Dam, Laksh Dam, Tehri Dam, etc. So these are the different dams you will see, major dams in the India, and most of the hydroelectric power plant will be hydro power will be generated from this particular dam. These are the some snapshot of the different hydroelectric power plants. This one is the Tehri Dam, which is based constructed in Uttarakhand. You will see the height of this particular dam, so you will get idea regarding the whatever the reservoir which is present. Okay, it is a huge reservoir, and that reservoir is through that reservoir we are uh, storing this particular water, and then it will pass on to the turbine. This is another snapshot of the Rehan Dam, which is based up located in Uttar Pradesh. This one is the construction activities at Coal Dam project. You will see, so these are the hilly area, and the dam will be constructed here. Okay, and because of this dam, whatever the water coming from this backside river, it will be the stored. Okay, and this stored water will be passed through this turbine, and like that we will going to construct that particular or they attain that particular hydroelectric power. Okay, so these are the terms. Now, site selection of the hydroelectric power plant. So, as we know, we have to consider many factors whenever we going to select any site for the hydroelectric construction, hydroelectric power plant construction. So, first one is the preliminary investigation. That is most important. Okay, so whenever we decided to construct any particular hydroelectric power plant at any particular place or the site, first of all, we have to carry out preliminary investigation. In that, the geo geology investigation will be there. Then the availability of water, okay, or we can say the monsoon data that we have to consider. Then the length or the whatever the distance between the that particular location to the consumer. So these are will be first of all investigated. In the final investigation, we have to detail survey and analyze the data which is collected during the preliminary investigation. Then hydrological factors, that is also important. Okay, hydrological factors means what? The factors related to the availability of water. It is water will be available during all over the area year, or it is depends on the only on the monsoon. That way also we have to consider. Then topographical. What will be the topography of that particular location? Okay, it is that particular site is favorable for construction or not. That also we have to consider, because whenever we construct any particular dam, consider this one is the dam. Okay, there must be a provision, or that site must be like that it will hold more water in the reservoir. Okay, and we have to require to build very small dam. Okay, so it will store the more and more water in the reservoir. So that type of site we have to consider. Okay, if there is a natural mountains are present here, then it will be very beneficial. Okay, so these type of factors we have to consider in topographical factors. Then the geological factors, as we have already discussed, the whatever the land which is available at that particular site, we have to first of all study the pattern of that particular land and detailed study of the topography as well as the geology. Okay, then head requirement. Okay, sometimes we are considering any particular site based upon which how much power we have to generate. Okay, so this head requirement again, it will going to affect on the selection of turbine. What type of turbine we are going to install. So this head requirement, then the foundation, how much foundation we have to lay at that particular site, arrangement and the type of dam. Okay, intake, conduit, surge tanks, powerhouse, how we are going to construct those all those factor, uh, all those points, and that at that particular site, that is also we are going to consider. Then transportation facilities during the construction, we have to transport many other materials, construction materials, it may be machineries from to that particular site. So transportation facility, we have to consider that factor also. And most importantly, the cost of the project, cost and time required for the project. That is also important. Okay, the initial costing of any particular hydroelectric power plant is very high. So in that case, we have to consider first of all analyze the cost requirement for that particular project. Okay, how much time it will require, because the costing is going to be based upon the construction time also. How much time it will require to construct and when the power will be generated. So based upon that cost of the project, we have to first evaluate, pre-evaluate, and that we are going to start that particular hydroelectric power plant. So these are the factors which are used to select the site of any particular hydroelectric power plant. Okay, so these are again details of the hydrological investigation, topographical investigation, then the geological investigation, or the factors. So first of all, understand the difference between the hydrology, topography, and the geology. Hydrological investigation means all the investigation which are related to the water availability. Okay, how much water will be available, how much water will be stored, how much head will be available, then the what is the groundwater data. So all those came under the hydrological investigation. Whereas topographical investigation means what? It is related to the location of that particular site. Okay, if there are there is a hilly area, okay, consider this one is the hills, okay, and we can construct dam here, and because of the construction of the dam there will be large water reservoir will be created at the backside of the dam. So the study of the topography of this particular location, that is known as a topographical investigation. In that there will be a catchment area we have to find out, then ground or aerial survey methods are used. Okay, and geological means what? The study of the land. Okay, the composition of the land, study of composition of the land, that is known as a geology. So in that case, we have to take a samples of the land. What type of land is there? What is its properties of the land? Okay, it is uh, can we construct that particular heavy dam on that particular ground? So all those study will be came under geological investigation. Okay, so likewise these are the different points regarding the hydroelectric power plant. These are the advantages, disadvantages you already know. The most importantly, that is capital cost. That is the disadvantages of this particular power plant, because we require it is very high capital cost project. Okay, so that is these are the disadvantages of the hydroelectric power plant. So this is regarding the hydroelectric power plant. The questions came, simple questions will be came. Okay, like explain the issues require which are came during the development of hydropowers, or sometimes they will ask you the India's power scenario, etc. Okay. The next point or the next power plant we are going to see, that is the thermal power plant. Okay, thermal power plant, or sometimes we call it as a steam power plant. So you already know what is thermal power plant. Thermal power plant means we just see the ranking cycle, okay, which is the soul of this thermal power plant. On the thermal power plant will working on the ranking cycle, as we already know, and there is four main components in the thermal power plant. Okay, so before we going for thermal power plant, if anybody have any doubt regarding the hydraulic power plant, you can ask now. Is there any doubt regarding hydraulic power plant? So we can move to the thermal power plant. Okay, I think all clear is. Okay, so in the thermal power plant, we generally know the this one is the this ranking cycle, which on which the thermal power plant are working. So there are four main components of the thermal power plant. So first one is the boiler, second one is the turbine, third one is the condenser, and fourth one is the feed pump. Okay, these are the main four components of any particular thermal power plant cycle. The minimum cost of the dam will be depends upon what is the capacity of that dam, okay, and what is the site, because all those factors like the site selection, from site selection to this investigation and the construction, it is based upon how much what is the topographical location of that particular dam. Okay, and also it is depends upon the capacity. If you want to build up overall, it is totally depends upon the site. Okay, site and the capacity, it may be in crores. Okay, thousands and crores. Sometimes any particular small dam will be cost roughly 1,000 crore or 2,000 crore, nearly 1,000 or 2,000 crore, that is the basic uh, cost it will be. Okay, but it will be depends upon the capacity and the site. That is important. Okay, because in some cases we have because of the geology of that particular site, we have to first carry out some test. Okay, after that, based upon that, we are going to decide what will be the capacity of that particular dam. Okay, so it will be depends upon the capacity of dam and also the site. Okay, so in thermal power plant, you already studied this one, that is a simple ranking cycle, or the simple thermal power plant will constrain or consist these four main components. But the actual power plant, this one is the actual power plant. Okay, so you will see there is so many components are there. Okay, main components you already know, that is the boiler. Okay, boiler, after boiler it will be the turbine, right? After turbine, it will be the condenser, and after condenser, there is a feed pump, water feed pump. These are the main component of any type of thermal power plant. Okay, and these are the components which are came under the ranking cycle, right? But the other components you will see, these are the subsystems of the thermal power plant. Any thermal power plant will have different circuits, or we can say this different subsystems. Okay, now first of all, we are going to see regarding the boiler. Now, in the boiler, what is the function of boiler? It will be generate the steam by combusting the gases, or we can say the combustion after the combustion of coal. Now, in most of the thermal power plant, we are using coal as a fuel. In many thermal power plants, we are using gas as a fuel, right? So in that case, gas will be provided to the boiler, okay, or we can say to the furnace. Now, for the coal type of thermal power plant, there will be another circuit will be there, that is the coal handling system. Okay, so in that case, from storage of the coal, okay, importing coal from these mines, okay, storing that coal near to the power plant, and handling of that coal means transportation from coal storage to the furnace. That is important. Okay, boiler also consists the furnace inside it. Okay, furnace, it is used to combust or the burn the coal. Okay, and after that, after combustion, whatever the heat released by this coal, it will be given to the water, water, and it will be converted into the high pressure and high temperature steam. Okay, so this one is known as the coal and ash handling system. All this particular system. Okay, this one is known as a coal and ash handling system, or mostly coal handling system. So first of all, coal stored will be there, storage will be there. After that, from coal storage to the boiler, coal will be transported. Okay, why we required this system? Because in any thermal power plant, uh, we require tons of coal. Okay, so in that case, we cannot handle this particular core by using your hands, or manually we cannot handle. So in that case, we require the handling system. Okay, so in that handling system, there is some different drives will be there, conveyors are used. Okay, sometimes we have to convert this particular simple coal, coal into the different pulverized form. So in that case also we require different systems or the different devices. So there those are came under this coal handling system. Okay. Then after burning, what will happen? Most of that part of that coal will be converted into the ash. Okay. And this is one is the ash handling. It is the one of the biggest problem of thermal power plant. Okay, because the weight of the ash is very low. Okay, so in that case we cannot easily handle this particular ash. To handle this particular ash, we required a particular system, that is a ash handling system. Okay, this ash will be stored, and again it will be disposed to the other facilities. Okay, we cannot simply put that ash into the storage, because in the thermal power plant, nearly 500 ton or 1000 ton of ash will be generated each day. So we have to handle all this ash we have to store it, and we have to dispose to the recycling unit. Okay, so this one is the coal and ash handling unit, or we can say the coal and ash handling circuit. Now, when when the coal will be burned, then there will be a exhaust gases will be, or we can say the flue gases will be generated. Now, these flue gases will be, again, we cannot directly exhaust into the atmosphere because it will contain some pollutant or pollution gases. So we cannot directly uh, uh, exhausted those gases into the atmosphere. Before that, we have to carry out uh, some process on that particular flue gases to reduce the pollution level of that flue gases. Okay, so these flue gases will be first of all passed through the superheater. So whatever the exhaust waste energy, it will be again utilized in the superheater. Then it will be passed through the economizer. Now economizer is used to increase increase the feed water temperature. Okay, whatever the water given to the boiler, first of all, we are increasing its temperature from atmospheric temperature to the higher temperature. So required less fuel inside the boiler. So in that case, it will be this flue gases first of all pass through the superheater. After that, whatever the remaining energy is there, it will be passed through the economizer. Again, energy will be extracted, or the heat will be extracted. After that, it will be passed through the air preheater. Okay. Now, air preheater means what? The air will be used, which is used for the combustion. We are increasing its temperature. Okay. So the efficient combustion will take place. So for that, we are using the air preheater. Here also, the remaining heat will be extracted from the flue gases, and then those gases will be passed through the chimney. In chimney, there will be a this ECR will be mounted, or catalytic converter will be mounted, which is reduces the pollution level of the flue gases. So this one is known as a flue gas circuit. Okay, whatever the from boiler to the chimney, that is known as a flue gas circuit. Now, next one is the air boiler air, or the combustion air circuit. This one is known as the combustion air circuit. It will also contain different devices. That is, the forced draft fan will be there, air creator will be there, filter will be there. Okay, so that is known as the air or the combustion air circuit. Okay, the another circuit we will see in the near to the condenser, that is cooling water circuit. This one is the cooling water circuit. Okay, whatever the water coming out from the, or the steam coming out from the turbine, which is enter into the condenser. Okay, in the condenser, what we go do, we are going to reject the heat to the cooling medium. Okay, for the cooling medium also, or the for the cooling purpose also, we are using the water from the river. Okay, so this water will be passed through the cooling water. Okay, here the cooling of the water, whatever the heat absorbed from the steam, is again rejected to the atmosphere, and after that, this cooled water is again pumped to the condenser. Condenser means one of type of heat exchanger is there, right? So here, heat from the steam will be given out to the water, and this water will be passed through this cooling water, cooling tower, and in cooling tower, this cooling water is again rejected its heat to the atmosphere. Okay, so this one is known as the cooling water circuit. So these are the different circuits we will see, and the different devices are used to efficiently working of that particular steam or thermal power plant. Okay, so main circuit is boiler to the superheater to the turbine, from turbine to the condenser to the feed water pump to the economizer, and from economizer to the again to the boiler. So this is the main circuit, and other circuit are just a we can say the accessories to that particular thermal power plant. So efficient working of thermal power plant will be carried out. Okay, so these all circuit has been used in the thermal power plant. So generally, thermal power plant is not just a four components. It will contain all these circuits and all the components which are shown in this particular diagram. Okay, so we are going to study the detail details of this particular thermal power plant, what are the factors which are affecting, that we already saw during this particular hydroelectric power plant, what are the factors affecting the site selection and etc. All those we are going to study in this particular point. Okay, so we will cover these points in next lecture. Okay, we will stop here. So that is the initial introduction to the thermal power